My depressed colleague is accusing me of bullying him after all the work I put in to save him from drowning because I disciplined him for leaking sensitive information, and now I'm being forced to defend myself. Posted by you/bullying boss. I, 39F, manage a team of 12 people, and last year, a 13th member, 44M, was added when other managers refused to deal with him any longer. He has been diagnosed with depression and generalized anxiety disorder. He is morbidly obese and suffers from musculoskeletal problems related to obesity and diabetes. When he was assigned to me, it was because I had successfully helped other mentally ill staff members, and I was happy to take him on, believing I could help. We made progress and steadily increased his level of work. While it has never reached an acceptable level, I made accommodations to relieve pressure, hoping this would lead to sustained long-term improvement. I also sought out equipment to help him be more physically comfortable given his obesity. I felt we were making progress. Unfortunately, he committed a serious breach of security by sending out personal information to someone not legally entitled to receive it, and I had to place him on formal disciplinary action. Since then, he has been on sick leave for over 3 months. He is now subject to attendance management procedures and has reached out to a local mental health group, claiming that I have bullied and harassed him. According to him, this alleged bullying and harassment have made it impossible for him to return to work. I have documented evidence proving this is untrue. When he was informed that he needed to move away from me for health and safety reasons, he became very distressed and demanded to stay with me for mental health reasons. I have signed documentation in which he states that I am supportive and that he does not want the reasonable accommodations I have offered, such as shorter days, fewer days, and longer breaks. I have a meeting with him and his support workers from the mental health group, and I have no idea how to handle it. How should I approach this? I can prove he is lying and that he has a pattern of lying to get out of trouble. I have no concerns about my bosses, as they are well aware that this is an utterly unfounded allegation. My concern is that he is completely unsuited to the job, and because he refuses to acknowledge any responsibility for his mistakes, it is impossible to correct them. Relevant comments. Commenter. You definitely need to speak with someone like an HR specialist before the meeting. You need advice from a professional who knows how to handle this specific situation. Ops response. I have spoken with our internal HR, but they are terrified that any accusations of bullying a person with mental health problems could be problematic since it is a hot topic at present. I have referred the person for counseling internally, and they have repeatedly told me, documented, that they have taken up this service. My concern is that this meeting is not an internal one, it is with people who specifically represent individuals with mental health problems, and I don't know how to respectfully say that the person is lying through their teeth without sounding like a bully. To be clear, their lies aren't malicious, and I don't believe this one is either. It is something said to solve an immediate need. In this case, they need to explain the amount of time they have had off sick, and admitting it is due to their own actions is too terrifying. Saying, I am being bullied, frames it as something happening to them that is beyond their control. The reality is that they do have control over it, but they are so used to being the victim in all situations that they refuse to acknowledge this is not actually true. Commenter 2. Judging from your explanation here, it appears that you have an understanding and empathetic attitude toward this person and their situation. That attitude, along with the documentation you have regarding the accommodations you've offered, should go a long way in your defense. What exactly is he saying you've done to bully him? I am not a professional in this area, but I have extensive experience working with people with mental health problems in social work and education settings. Ops response. He believes that by pointing out his security breach and substandard level of work, I have bullied him. He doesn't claim that he isn't doing this, just that by expecting more, I am bullying and harassing him. I am making allowances. For example, other staff members are expected to handle approximately 16 cases a day accurately. I'm happy for him to do 2 if he does them correctly. Unfortunately, he can manage 2 cases but not correctly. By allowing him to work at a slower pace, he believes he should be granted the same margin for error as someone handling 16 cases. As such, he feels bullied for being expected to complete his 2 cases with 100% accuracy, whereas someone handling 16 cases is allowed minor errors. Op explains HR more. Yeah, HR's response is basically, fire him, but don't leave us open to a lawsuit. It's not helpful because I don't want to fire him. He's not currently in a position to do his job to the required standard, but I don't want to detrimentally impact his future. He won't resign for health reasons, as he feels it will prevent him from getting another job, and HR wants him gone without actually doing anything. I'm stuck in the middle because, as manipulative as his mental health issues are, they are real. If I wouldn't get fired for doing it, I'd post a copy of the 4-page email I got from HR in response to my specific questions. It was large swathes of the DDA copied and pasted with vague remarks about support, reasonable allowances, and work-life balance. I can only assume they put someone's idiot nephew in charge of the inbox on the day I contacted them. They are centralized and notorious for not giving out specific instructions for fear of having them challenged. Their main purpose is to protect themselves. I have no idea how they keep their jobs, to be honest. Update 3 months later. Well, the meeting went ahead as planned, and thanks to the wonderful advice and tips from the people who kindly responded, I was calm and thought I was prepared. Boy, was I wrong. My colleague and his support worker were both there, and the meeting started really well. I asked how he was doing, what steps he was taking to prepare himself to return to work, etc., and nothing unexpected came up. As arranged, I brought up the allegations of bullying and asked for some specific examples to help me understand what was happening. After worrying myself sick about this, his answer was actually pretty disappointing. He gave no examples and only offered vague explanations about his anxiety making him overreact to other people's conversations, which made him feel like he was being picked on. I advised him, and my boss backed me up, that there was literally nothing I could do about that. I patiently explained that I could not ban people from talking, and I would not sit in silence to ensure that he never heard anything he didn't like. My boss stressed that his poor performance needed to be addressed and that this was part of my job, emphasizing that doing so was in no way harassment. His support worker agreed with that, and we had a brief chat about how I could better communicate. To be honest, there was nothing they said that was particularly helpful, but I did agree to be mindful of their condition moving forward. Then it got weird. I asked if there was anything I could do to help him transition back into work. This normally involves a phased return, changing to part-time hours, etc., but not this time. As I was talking, he started taking paperwork out of a folder, and I should have realized something was up when his support worker sighed deeply and slumped down in his chair. My colleague requested that he be allowed to bring an emotional support animal to work with him, namely, a support cat. We are in the UK, and this is not the norm, so I was a bit surprised. He had not settled on a breed yet but was torn between an Abyssinian and a Siamese. I thought pointing out some obvious difficulties with this idea might make him realize how inappropriate it would be. For example, I pointed out that we have a guide dog in the building for a partially sighted colleague. His name is Rufus, and he is by far the most popular person in the building, the dog, not the human, and they may not get along with a cat. He responded by telling me that it was illegal to discriminate by favoring one disability over another and that if a blind person could have a guide dog, a depressed person could have a cat. I moved on from this, clearly idiotic, point and asked how a cat would react to being placed in a pet carrier twice a day to travel to and from work. He advised me that he would train the cat. My boss became very agitated at this point, demanding, "How the hell do you train a cat?" Not to be deterred, my colleague stated that, in the worst-case scenario, he would leave the cat at work overnight and only take him home on weekends. I asked how he intended to cope with litter tray cleaning, etc. Given his serious weight issues, bending down to empty a litter tray would be difficult for him. He presented me with a spreadsheet he had created, featuring a team rota for cleaning up after the cat and feeding it. He had also calculated the costs of food, insurance, and the actual price of the cat on said spreadsheet, which included an expected donation from each team member, on a sliding scale depending on how he perceived their financial circumstances. I was paying the most, as I am single, earn more, and have no dependent children. The spreadsheet was quite impressive, color-coded and everything. I politely said no to that, and he then started insisting that the company should pay, as it would be a legitimate business expense to accommodate his disabilities. At this point, I realized my boss was still repeating, "How the hell do you train a cat?" while the support worker was shaking his head and muttering, "I told you not to do this." So, I made a unilateral decision on behalf of my company and advised him, in no uncertain terms, that we would not be buying any cats, we would not be cleaning up after any cats, because we would not be permitting him to bring any cats onto the premises. He was not happy. He complained that I was making it impossible for him to return to work. My boss took a break from his cat training mantra to say that we had perhaps gone as far as we could for the time being and that we should end the meeting at this point. As we were leaving, he made a point of telling the support worker, "There will be no bloody cats." The support worker nodded and agreed that this was entirely fair. I didn't hear anything from him for a week or so, then received another 4-week sick note from him. So, I called, as per our company procedure, to check in and see how he was doing. He was still very unhappy about my discriminatory anti-cat stance and advised that he would be taking it further. 2 weeks later, I received a letter from what initially looked like a local solicitor's office. It advised me that I was being sued for breaking disability discrimination laws. The letter itself was filled with bizarre, mainly American, legalese that seemed to be culled from Law and Order episodes. On closer examination, the letterhead had been edited to change the contact details to his home phone number and personal mobile. I'm not sure whose address he used, but it wasn't the solicitor's in question. I handed it to my boss, who had also received one, so both were forwarded to our legal department. I was advised to have no further contact with him. The legal team has since informed me that his contract has been terminated with immediate effect. I am honestly stunned at how it turned out. I half expected him to be terminated due to the amount of time off sick and his unwillingness to address his performance issues, but I would never have guessed it would end like this. It is both funny and sad. Thank you so much to everyone who took the time to calm my nerves before the meeting, it really did mean the world to me.